Alrighty, time for another daily. Let's see what we got here. This is Nocturne and Allies, and I think that's it. Looks like a bit of a buzzkill of a kingdom. There's a lot of interesting stuff here, but then there's also Barbarian, which is thoroughly unpleasant card to play with. Actually, it's extra nasty here. We got 2 heirlooms. So because Shepherd and Pixie are in the kingdom, you start with Goat and Pasture in place of 2 of your starting coppers. And a Barbarian hitting Goat early in the game is brutal. Or Pasture late in the game could be equally brutal. That's like a 6-point swing or so on average. Yeah. I don't even know that it's good here necessarily in a generic sense. It's one of those cards that's like your opponent buys it when they shouldn't, and then there's like a 30% chance they just randomly get an outsized amount of value out of it if it hits like 1 or 2 key cards in your deck. Not a terribly fun experience, but we'll have to make do. Unfortunately, the daily does not respect ban lists, so these kingdoms can show up from time to time. How about the rest of the kingdom? Plus buy is just Skulk, looks like. There's Cobbler for gains. Oh, that's not true. There's also the Augur pile. So we got Herb Gatherer for plus buy. Acolyte can gain stuff. I think Acolyte doesn't look great here just because there is Shepherd around, which means hopefully if the Pasture survives, you're not necessarily wanting to kill your estates all too badly. So we have some amount of gains. Villages. Terminal space looks very limited here, which is, for once, kind of good news. We got Contract can let you play an extra action. Not a very efficient village. You have to have 2 contracts just for 1 village effect. And you got to set aside cards, which means you're not getting much value. But it is a village. And then there's also Ghost, which you can gain off of Exorcist. Where's the Ghost? Which is like a double village effect, but it's not easy to acquire because you got to trash a pretty high value thing to get the Ghost, and then so like you get an expensive thing, you trash the expensive thing, you get a Ghost, you play the Ghost, then that next turn, it's like 4 turns down the road, you got a village effect. It's a strong village effect, but it requires a huge amount of setups. The villages are pretty limited. Draw looks like totally fine. You have duration draw with Highwayman, which sets up for Shepherd. Shepherd's a lot of draw if you can kick it off, which duration draw helps with. So between Highwayman and Cobbler, you're probably likely to be able to draw with Shepherd. There's also, what's it called? Sybil from the Augur's pile is like 1 lab worth of draw. And then thinning, there's Goat from Pixie, which is phenomenal at trashing cards. There's also Exorcist for thinning. And there's Shepherd, which means you don't even need to kill your estates that badly to begin with. So plenty of thinning and draw, limited actions, some amount of plus buy. Most of this seems straightforward. We're just playing with like Russian roulette in the kingdom. Alas. So I got the 5-2. Might be the 4-2 if I decide to trash a copper next turn because I'll have the Goat the turn 2 hand. Turn 1 seems clear enough. Just take a Pixie. If I had Goat turn 1, there might be a case for resolving Forest Dwellers early and triggering a shuffle because Goat is just a phenomenal card. And you'd love to see it early. Here, I really don't want to trigger a shuffle because my Goat would miss the shuffle. I think it might be worth playing the Goat to hit 5. I'm not sure. If it's 4, I think it's Shepherd. 5 could be either Highwayman or Cobbler. Cobbler just gains the Shepherd, and then you're back to where you would have been. I think I like the idea of taking a Cobbler here. What a diverse hand for turn 3. Definitely want to trigger this. If I could find Cobbler, that would be lovely. Where are the favorites coming from? From Contract. I think Contract maybe sees an appearance here. So maybe in the future, Forest Dwellers shows up again. I don't think Forest Dwellers is super important in the long term. Again, I think just having a Highwayman in play is probably enough reliability to kick off the turn. That plus Cobbler should do the trick. Moon Boon, the worst of the boons, by a large margin. Certainly don't want to pop that. Trash a copper, buy a pixie. This looks like a lovely hand to put a shepherd into. That's not a long shuffle to trigger. If I pop this, there's just like a 90% chance I'm buying another pixie with the 2 money that I gain. I don't think it behooves me to lower the piles. 2 silvers, that's a solid maybe. I don't need the payload quite yet. But gains are otherwise fairly limited here. I think I'm going to take that. The coppers are going to get trashed pretty naturally. Normally you trash estates first, but Shepherd is one of maybe the best case for keeping your estates around in the game. And so I'm thinning the coppers fast. I will be pretty quickly short on payload, and so I think the silvers make sense. This is probably Highwayman now. Oh no, I'm miserable. Field's Gift. Not terribly helpful at the moment. And a second Cobbler. Hopefully my... Oh, that's it. Definitely the best boon to pull off a pixie is Swamp's Gift. Will-O-Wisps are quite strong. Probably the best boon would be Flame's Gift, if not for the fact that Pixie comes with Goat, which I think is part of the reason Pixie comes with Goat, is to neutralize the huge early game advantage of pulling a Flame's Gift. If everyone has Amazing Thinning, then there's less of a swing from that. What am I taking here? I would love to make sure I can play the Highwayman to the greatest degree possible. So probably Courier is the thing that maximizes that chance. I was thinking about a second Shepherd initially because I only see 2 of my 4 green cards. I play this Shepherd, I would have probably 2 more states in hand. But why not just play the Highwayman straight from the discard pile, given that that is a possibility. I can't afford to play this Pixie. So Courier discards 1 card first, then you look through your discard pile and play an action. So if I play Pixie, I'll have no cards left in deck. I will trigger a shuffle, and I might, most likely, in fact, would fail to find the Highwayman. Not a risk I'm willing to take. And now what I want? Another Cobbler? A contract? I'm going to say another Cobbler. I only have the 1 terminal I want to play, I think. The Courier is kind of a terminal, but kind of not. I will need to add plus buy soonish. And the plus buy here is terminal. Skulk and Herb Gatherer. So I might need a contract sooner rather than later. But I also need to gain these in Cobbler Canes. I'm not sure. One of these 2. I probably need a village, I think. This hand is not lovely, but I could draw some estates off of the Highwayman. Could those Will-O-Wisps do work? The bot has bought a contract. Alrighty. So this draws exactly 6 cards if I pitch all 3 of these, which would be too much for the Courier to find Highwayman. I could just discard 2 of the estates, which is probably what I'll end up doing. And let's add one of them plus buy fellers that we were talking about. Herb Gatherer versus Skulk. This pile doesn't look super important. Curses, I think, are not hard to deal with the Goat. Sybil is nice, but I think Highwayman and Shepherd's probably going to be enough draw. Acolyte, we said, is bad. So I think Skulk's probably going to be better. No, thank you. Shepherd, not Shepherd, Pastor can take the hit from Highwayman. And now I'll need a second contract. Contract gets stuck in play, so if you want the village effect every turn, you'll have to have a pair of them. Bot stack seems to be working just fine. It's got a Shepherd, it's got a Highwayman, it's got Skulk Contractor. Decks look pretty similar. It does not have the pair of Cobblers, but it does have the Will-O-Wisps, which are nice. Oh, I have a favor. How exciting. Probably don't want to draw any of that, right? I also have a Cobbler to resolve, don't I? I think I'm pitching everything. And taking a second Shepherd. Pixie, don't need that at this point in the game. And so I don't have a third, like, so the previous turn I'd set aside a plus buy card with Contract. I don't have another copy of Skulk to set aside, but if you just set aside a non-terminal card, I can play that Skulk and I'll be just fine. And Courier will be guaranteed non-terminal if you play it at the start of your turn. So we'll always find that Highwayman. I have 10, which is a big number. Don't know what I'm doing with 10. Probably. My first inclination is Contract and Cobbler. I think the Cobblers are actually a pretty decent amount of value here. You gain the Shepherds or Estates for kind of your main source of draw. They can gain Payload with Skulk. Wouldn't mind getting an Exorcist at some point and gaining some, whatchamacallums, the Spirits for additional draw, or a Ghost. And Contract is a card I'll need if I want to scale up any further because I need additional plus buy. Wouldn't hate a second Highwayman, although it's a little bit tricky to play. Probably the least ambitious, but actually not ridiculous thing would be like Province plus Pixie. Given that it's not super easy to scale up, just with how inefficient the village is, getting like a third buy is not trivial. And so maybe you just start greening and plan to build no more than double Province. It's like Province Pixie here, add a little bit more payload off your Cobblers, and then shoot for double Province in a turn or two. I don't think that's actually as unreasonable as it might seem at first glance, but I have grander ambitions. Ouchie. Honestly, the hexes I can live with. The bot has not touched Barbarian, and so, at least for the moment, we can have a nice, amicable game. What's the hex or two among friends? Okie dokie. Gotta resolve Highwayman before the Courier. Forest Dwellers, sure, I suppose. What do I want in hand? I think I'm going to draw just fine with a victory card on top and a Shepherd and 2 victory cards in hand. So maybe now is a good time to take an Exorcist. I don't know that Exorcist is strictly necessary in this kingdom, but it's a lovely card. This looks appealing if I can draw it. I have 2 shepherds. Yeah, I have 2 shepherds. I think there's a decent chance that I get back around. In the interest of caution, how about I make these cantrips that I gain, so I'm more likely to find the estates again. The bot hexed me, and it killed my shepherd, and I forgot about that. Oh no. I did not have a second shepherd. Okay, well then clearly I should just gain another shepherd off of that Earth Gift. Clearly, if I had recalled that, there was a much more obviously correct play. Mistakes were made. This is probably still fine. I'm just gonna set that aside. I guess I'll take a province now. But listen, things were going so well. You seemed like a changed man, not actually a man, changed entity. But it reverted to its old habits. Alright, well, surely I need a second shepherd now. Oopsie. I drew a card too many. I didn't count that. Obviously, I want my courier to hit the highwayman. This should be fine. It just means I won't get to play the courier this turn. I can kill it instead. I might have enough money to make use of this. Probably I do. I already have 2 buys. Yeah. Nothing to trash. Maybe I can kill the gold for a ghost? That doesn't sound half bad. How much money do I have if I do that? 6 money versus 7. Neither of those really jumps out to me, but 7 sounds slightly better. Probably need a little bit more payload at this point, which I think means gaining another skulk. Or getting a good pixie boon. I actually would not mind Mountain's Gift here. I've lost a contract. Okie dokie. Highwayman first. Forest dwellers. Let's leave an estate on top. Oh wait, no. Courier's going to discard a card. So let's leave a junk card on top. Discard Goat, play Highwayman. Gain a Shepherd, gain a Skulk. Draw. Wait a second. Something's wrong. I can feel it. I discarded the estate? How did I must have misclicked. I thought I just discarded the Exorcist and left Goat followed by estate on top. Huh. I was intending to draw an estate here. I mean, drawing Imp is not bad either, but is not how this was supposed to go. I don't want Sky's Gift. Yes, please. Yeah. That could be good earlier on. Rather set aside the Imp, I think. It's a good target for contract. And the Skulk would be a great target for my second contract if I had one. I guess it can become Exorcist food. Probably just Province. And another Skulk. Yeah, I think I'm going to want another Skulk. I don't have 16 money yet, which seems like an important number. Skulk is not necessarily a card I want in my starting hand, so I'd rather gain like Shepherd Estate off of the Cobblers and buy the Skulk now. I think I have enough targets for 3 Imps now that I got the Will-O-Wisps in the deck. Haunting. This would matter more if the bot was going to have a rest of the turn, where the Barbarian was going to get played. Given that I'm about to resolve a Highwayman, I don't think it actually matters what I top deck. I think the Cobblers are doing good work here. I wouldn't say the Cobbler is in general the strongest card. Probably like a little below median, but not terrible. But I think it's definitely paid its dividends in this kingdom. Just a lot of good 4s, plus a lot of benefit from, for example, being able to put a Shepherd in your hand. There's 4s that you want to gain directly to hand, which is nice here. This is potentially an awkward shuffle. I think those are all fine things. I'm going to pitch the Courier. That might be a slight risk. Obviously, it's super important to make sure I play the Highwayman every turn. And the Courier can guarantee that I play the Highwayman. But it's also terminal here, right? I set aside a... No, I set aside an Imp. I can play the Courier non-terminally. I think I'm going to keep all this on top. And I will gain... I got a Shepherd, so maybe just 2 victory cards to hand. I've not played a Will-O-Wisp yet. Okay. That's not helpful. Poverty could hurt. Oh, poverty definitely hurts. The bot apparently does not have a highwayman in play. Nothing I want to trash. I could always consider turning the goat into a wisp. I'll consider that after seeing how much money I have. Probably better to contract the shepherd. Well, 16 actually sounds pretty nice. So don't know if I can support another imp. Probably in theory, but you don't want to rely on your cards lining up perfectly. Oh, barbarian. Why must you be this way? Discard, I guess, the silver. I've only got the one skulk in my deck at this point, and I want to make sure that I find my only plus buy card. Bot's deck is not quite functional over there. I'm not sure why. It seemed like he was making a lot of the right moves early in the game. Things never seem to have come together. I'm going to blame the barbarian. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad card to gain, just on its merits, but probably that choice has led the bot to suffer some poor shuffles out of a sense of cosmic justice. At least one can hope. Resolve this. Guess I want another one of these. I am under highwayman attack, and I don't think I was last turn. I had exactly 16 last turn, so I think I probably need another treasure to hit the requisite price points here, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not exactly sure whether playing Shepherd first is better or worse. The reason to wait until later for Shepherd is obviously to find more victory cards to discard. The reason to play it early is I've already got a Shepherd in play, and holding off on these other cards gives me more targets for the imps. I don't want to have to play those terminally. We'll see what the answer ends up being. Well, that would resolve my treasure problem. I guess I can go ahead and take it anyway. Sure. So with this unexpected influx of pixie payload, is it possible that I could hit 24? Or is that dreaming too big? So close. Oh wait, no, that is it. There we go. Let's get a ghost. So I think the big thing in this kingdom is it's super important to get to the point where you've got a highwayman in play, and then you're playing a shepherd, and then you're drawing your deck and putting the highwayman in play again. There's a lot of kingdoms where if you're struggling to draw your deck, you might want to get 2 highwaymen. Because I can't actually read the card from here. How do I go back to the kingdom? Highwayman is a kind of a rare case of duration draw where, at least in theory, you can play it every single turn because it leaves play at the start of turn rather than at the normal time. So you only need 1 highwayman to get 3 draw every turn, whereas like a barge or a haunted woods you need 2 copies. The downside is like you draw your hand for start of turn and then you discard the highwayman after you've drawn your deck. So it's always in the discard pile at the bottom of your deck. So if you're not reliably drawing your deck, you're not finding your one copy of Highwayman. If you're not finding your one copy of Highwayman, you're probably not drawing the next turn. And so I think there's a lot of kingdoms where it makes sense to get 2 copies anyway, just to make sure you're playing one every turn. This kingdom, I think, there's enough support between like Courier and the Shepherd and stuff that just one turns out to be fine. But I think that plus Shepherd is just tons and tons of draw. Shepherd potentially scales up really big. Discard your estates, you draw like 6 cards. The downside of Shepherd is it's hard to kick off. Like you find 1 Shepherd and 1 estate in your starting hand, you're not actually net drawing any cards because you played a card, discarded a card, drew 2 cards, you're still back in a 5-card hand. So Shepherd requires you to like first have a big hand to line up Shepherd and a bunch of green cards, and then you get a really big hand. And so Shepherd plus duration draw is like the key interaction. And you get this going, and your deck is functional, and then it works well from there. I thought Cobbler also seemed pretty good here, both for the synergy with Shepherd and also just there's a bunch of good $4 stuff to gain in general. What did the bot do wrong? It has Highwayman. It has 1 Shepherd, which seems a little bit odd. Oh, it killed its estates. I don't agree with that. That's also quite surprising. I feel like if anything, the bot usually is kind of guilty of under trashing. I often look at the bot's deck at the end of the game, like, why do you still have 6 coppers left? But here, it killed its estates, which, again, I think 95% of the time is a super important thing to do. But with Shepherd, is like the rare case where you really don't want to clear your estates because they are part of your draw. And so I think probably the bot, although it has Highwayman and Shepherd, is underutilizing this interaction. It also doesn't have the combos, which I thought were pretty good here. Plus, also, there's most likely some karma playing an influence because it's bot Barbarian, which is a morally capricious thing to do. Yeah, that's the kingdom.